Angelo Bruno, born Angelo Annaloro on May 21, 1910, in Vialba, Sicily, immigrated to the United States as a child with his family, settling in Philadelphia. Over time, Bruno became one of the most powerful mob bosses in America, controlling organized crime activities in Philadelphia and South Jersey for nearly 2 decades. Early life and rise in organized crime. Bruno's family moved to the United States when he was a young boy, and they settled in Philadelphia. From an early age, he became involved in petty crimes, but his intelligence and careful nature helped him rise within the local criminal underworld. By the 1950s, Bruno was associated with the Philadelphia Mafia, also known as the Bruno crime family. His mentor was Joseph Ida, an earlier boss of the family. After Ida's retirement in the 1950s, Angelo Bruno took control of the family in 1959, with the approval of the powerful New York Mafia families. Bruno's approach to leadership earned him the nickname, the Gentle Don. He favored diplomacy over violence, preferring to maintain a low profile while still overseeing the traditional rackets of organized crime, bookmaking, loan sharking, and gambling. He also generated a significant income from Atlantic City's casinos and New Jersey's shore resorts. Bruno disapproved of drug trafficking, seeing it as a risky business that attracted law enforcement attention, although some of his underlings engaged in narcotics behind his back. Cities connected to Angelo Bruno. Philadelphia. The core of Angelo Bruno's operations was Philadelphia, where he resided and controlled his crime family. He ruled with a sense of restraint, avoiding violent confrontations and keeping the peace between rival families. Atlantic City, New Jersey. Bruno had significant interests in Atlantic City, especially in the 1960s and 1970s, when the city was a hub of gambling and entertainment. He used his influence to control casinos and other rackets. New York City. Though Bruno never directly controlled New York, he maintained close relations with the 5 families of the New York Mafia, especially the Gambino family. These alliances helped him solidify his power and avoid conflicts. Florida. Like many mobsters of his time, Bruno had connections in Florida, particularly for investments and leisure. Miami was a hotbed of organized crime during the 1960s and 1970s, and many mafia families had interests there. Chicago. While Bruno had no direct control over Chicago, he had dealings with the Chicago outfit through business ventures and alliances, including those involving gambling and narcotics distribution. Murders and conflicts. Although Bruno preferred a non-violent approach, this did not mean his reign was free of conflict. Several internal and external rivalries marred his leadership. Rivalries within the family. Many younger and more aggressive members of the Philadelphia mob were frustrated by Bruno's reluctance to embrace the lucrative narcotics trade. His second-in-command, Antonio Caponigro, also known as Tony Bananas, was particularly resentful. Murders within the mafia. Bruno's preference for diplomacy led to simmering tensions. He was able to avoid major wars, but internal dissent began brewing in the 1970s. Bruno's refusal to endorse drug trafficking meant that ambitious mobsters found other ways to make money, causing internal divisions. Assassination of Angelo Bruno. On March 21, 1980, Angelo Bruno was murdered outside his South Philadelphia home while sitting in his car. He was shot in the head with a shotgun, an assassination likely orchestrated by Antonio Caponigro, his own consigliere. Caponigro believed that Bruno's removal would allow him to take over the Philadelphia Mafia and pursue narcotics profits. However, Caponigro had acted without the approval of the New York Mafia Commission. When the commission found out, Caponigro was summoned to New York, where he was tortured and killed for violating mob protocol. Bruno's death unleashed a violent mob war in Philadelphia, with various factions fighting for control. The aftermath. Bruno's assassination led to years of violent power struggles within the Philadelphia Mafia. Several mobsters, including his successors like Philip Testa, known as the Chicken Man, were murdered in subsequent years, and the family's stability unraveled. The brutal era that followed was in stark contrast to Bruno's more peaceful rule. Documentaries and legacy. Angelo Bruno's life has been the subject of several documentaries and true crime shows, where his leadership style is often contrasted with the more violent and flashy mob bosses of his era. The Last Dawn. This documentary examines Bruno's life and influence, presenting his reign as a peaceful and diplomatic one compared to other mob leaders. It discusses how Bruno managed to keep Philadelphia's criminal underworld relatively stable for many years. Philly Mob, Biography Channel. This film delves into the Philadelphia mob's internal power struggles, especially after Bruno's assassination, focusing on the chaos and violence that ensued after his death. Bruno's murder marked the end of an era of relative calm in Philadelphia's organized crime world. His death triggered a series of violent struggles that would define the city's criminal landscape for the next few decades. His low-key, diplomatic approach left a unique mark on mafia history, contrasting with the bloodier reputations of other mob bosses. Thanks for tuning into Sika True Crime Docs. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more captivating tales. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories to life. See you in the next episode.